Anybody interested in playing an unconventional barbarian build that's filthy, fast and tons of fun, doesn't even use Wrath of the Berserker? Great, let me introduce you to the 264 Mad Quake Barb. What's going on guys, it's the Filthy Casual, back with another Diablo video. Now, it's taken me a bit of time to get this one out because I've been wrapped up in the Chaosbane beta and also playing the original Diablo, which Blizzard has re-released last week. So I'll put in the cards and also in the video description some links to a couple of videos that I've made on those. But we're back on the D3 grind. Now, before we get into the build, I'd just like to say thanks to everybody who's subscribed over the last few weeks. Thanks to anybody who's taken the time to comment on any of the videos or like them. Anyone who's shown me some love, really do appreciate it. Really does inspire me to make more videos. So, thanks very much. Right, let's get into this. Now, this is a very unusual build. It feels an awful lot like Explosive Blast Wizard. It does rely on Ingeome, but it is a lot of fun to play. It is very quick once you get your Ingeome proc, and provided you can find elites, you can absolutely demolish T13. It's a bit mad. It's mad because you're chucking out threatening shouts, so your character sounds angry, so mad angry that way, and it's mad because it's a bit Benny Hill, and you're running around after enemies, but we'll get into all that. Now the build really has got two stages to it. You've got your pre-Ingeome proc and your post-Ingeome proc, and believe you me, they couldn't play much different. So prior to your Ingeome proc, this is basically just going to be Leap Quake, so if you've ever played that, you'll be completely familiar with that. As soon as you proc your Ingeome, you completely ditch that playstyle and jump completely into a different one. And that for me is quite fun. It's, you know, I quite like it. It's a unique build, and as I say, it's absolutely stacks of fun to play. So let's get into the gear and we'll do a little crash course on Leap Quake as we go. Now the set that we're using for this particular build is going to be the Might of the Earth. We're going to use the full 6 pieces, and if you're playing Season 16, you get the Rogue buff for free. But for non-season you will have to take the Rogue, so it's not a build that terribly benefits from the buff, and you can play this off-season, but I'll present it as I'm doing it now for Season 16. So looking at the 2-piece, it reads, reduce the cooldown of Earthquake, Avalanche, Leap and Ground Stomp by 1 second for every 30 Fury you spend with an attack. Now the 4-piece says that Leap causes an Earthquake when you land. Additionally, Leap gains the effect of the Iron Impact rune, and the rune's effect and duration are increased by 150%. So whenever you land with a Leap, you're doing an Earthquake, and you get Iron Impact for free. Now the 6-piece says that the damage of Earthquake, Avalanche, Leap, Ground Stomp, Ancient Spear and also Seismic Slam are all increased by 20,000%. So obviously whenever one of these things goes off, it's tons of damage. Earthquake causes tons of damage, Avalanche causes tons of damage. Now, because you're leaping around so much, every time you land you cause an Earthquake, and that deals loads of damage. We're also going to juice this up with the Girdle of Giants belt, and what that says is that for 3 seconds after casting Seismic Slam, you will get up to 250% extra damage on your Earthquake. Now the other vital component of a Leap Quake build is the loot socks. We're going to wear them. What this allows you to do is it allows you to leap an additional 2 times before the cooldown resets. So you will be able to basically leap 3 times before the cooldown is activated. Now with the Earth and Might passive, you also gain Fury every time you cause an Avalanche or an Earthquake. So obviously as you leap, you then proc these 2 things, you gain Fury, you leap again, you gain Fury, you leap for the final and 3rd time, and you gain even more Fury. You will then hit Seismic Slam, and we're going to take the Rumble rune, which will empty all of the Fury, and what that basically does is it just resets the cooldown on leap. So the idea is that you will leap 3 times, press Seismic Slam, leap 3 times, press Seismic Slam, and that's your basic rotation for Leap Quake. And obviously every time you land with your leap, you're causing an Earthquake. That's obviously why it's called Leap Quake, and it deals tons of damage, and for T13, Leap Quake is very good. It will absolutely trash everything. The only problem is that it's not particularly fast, and that's what we're going to essentially fix with the Ingeome. But before we get to that part, let's round out the skills for Leap Quake. We are going to have Earthquake on the bar with Molten Fury, just simply because this is the most damaging rune and we want to have as much damage on this skill as possible. For Leap, we're going to be taking the Call of Arius, and that will pull enemies towards us, and that's going to be important for one of our move speed procs when we get to that a little bit later. And I've already mentioned Seismic Slam, Rumble, so they're the kind of main skills that we've got for the Leap Quake. Now, we're also going to be taking the Blade of Tribes as our 2-handed weapon. You will get a slight increase on earthquake damage for this, but the secondary is what is important, and that says that Warcry and Threatening Shout cause an avalanche and an earthquake. Now we're not going to take Warcry, but we are going to take Threatening Shout. So basically, whenever we press Threatening Shout, we're going to get an earthquake, which is going to be juiced up by the Might of the Earth 6-piece and by the Girdle of Giants, provided we've casted Seismic Slam in the 3 seconds before that. Now, Threatening Shout is on a 10-second cooldown. We're going to be taking the Terrify rune, and what that does is it gives us a 100% chance that enemies will flee in fear. Now, all that we're doing with this Threatening Shout is using it to proc Earthquake and Avalanche, and obviously, as you've probably guessed by now, with the Endure being in the cube, once this is procced, it means that we can cast Threatening Shouts to our heart's content. So we get 10 seconds of essentially being able to completely just press this button as many times as we can, and your Barbarian will be causing an earthquake and an avalanche as you run around. So then it becomes a question about juicing up your move speed, so you can essentially turn yourself into a running ball of molten on the ground and of massive rocks falling from the sky. And that's why we've gone for the rune that causes enemies to flee, because we're also going to be taking the Ring of Larceny, and that gives you a 60% move speed buff for 4 seconds, provided you fear an enemy. So any enemy that gets affected by your Threatening Shout will be feared. Now, don't worry, they don't get a chance to run away, because the Threatening Shout will pretty much vaporise them. Occasionally you might find an elite that will escape from you, you have to chase it. Again, feeds into the madness of the build. It's a bit like Benny Hill, you're running around after them trying to cast more Threatening Shouts. You're basically like running after them, repeatedly hitting Threatening Shouts. It's quite funny, it is entertaining, I do enjoy playing it. Now that's where the rune on Leap comes in, because obviously you can leap and pull enemies towards you if you want to, and also it's good for grouping up those elites initially before you proc your NGO. Now you will move super quick in this build, and the reason for that is we do have quite a lot of move speed buffs. We're going to take Sprint with Marathon, which is an extra 40%. This is up all of the time. You've got plenty of Fury, so enough to cast this every few seconds when it drops off. You're going to have Boon of the Hoarder, and that is going to give you up to a 30% move speed increase whenever you pick up gold. Another legendary gem we're taking is the Wreath of Lightning. This procs quite a lot, so again, that's extra move speed. You've got your Paragon points as well, up to 25%. And then the final skill that I've decided to take is Battle Rage with the Ferocity rune for another consistent 15% move speed buff. So you basically activate this at the start of the rift and then forget about it. This skill's open, you can swap this out for something else, so you could go with Ignore Pain Bravado for 40% move speed. I suppose if you wanted to, you could put Wrath of the Berserker here. The reason I haven't is because I'm not gearing for cooldown at all, so I just find that the 15% move speed is basically just handy. And obviously you get a 10% damage buff and also the extra crit chance. So that's pretty much the mechanics of the Ingeum bit. Basically once it's procced you need to be casting Seismic Slam every 3 seconds, and other than that you leg it about like an absolute lunatic. Threatening Shout, Threatening Shout, Threatening Shout, and as I say, everything pretty much just vaporises. So let's round out the rest of the gear. You're going to be taking a Hellfire Amulet. Passives we'll go through in a few minutes. Nemesis Braces are absolutely essential for this build, because you want to be getting your keys as quickly as possible, but you also want to be proccing your Ingeum as many times as possible, so every time you click on a shrine or pylon you will generate an extra elite or champ pack, so that's obviously very important. If you're playing non-season, you're going to have to take the Ring of Raw Grandeur, but if you're playing on season, I've gone with a Stone of Jordan, and I'm actually running a Band of Might because I'm a hardcore player, so I don't really want there to be any risk of myself proccing at T13. This is very, very swappable. You can definitely take this out, but it gives you an 80% damage reduction after you've leaped. Now we are running Gold Wrap in the cube, so once you do pick up gold you pretty much become immortal. So if you're playing on softcore, you definitely don't need to take this ring, and you can have a Convention of Elements, for example, for some extra damage. You might even want to take a Unity for the extra elite damage, but yeah, it's fairly open. So basically, if you're playing non-season, you're going to have the Rogue and you're going to have the Larceny ring, and then you're just going to make one more choice for yourself. And if you're playing seasonal, well, lucky you, you get to make a few picks. As I say, Ingeum in the cube, Gold Wrap in the cube, and then one of your ring items in there. So as for passives, obviously Hellfire Amulets, you're going to be able to pick up 5 of them. Now again, I'm hardcore, so I have to have Nerves of Steel. I can't afford to take this off because I'm not going to rip my character film doing T13. But you obviously have to have Earthen Might, that's essential. You need the Fury generation. I would go with Rampage for the extra strength. I would go for Ruthless for the extra damage against low health enemies. Brawler, because again you want more damage when there's lots of stuff around you, and generally speaking that will build up quite a lot of the time. And then I probably would pick Pound of Flesh for the 5th passive. Then when you pick up a health globe, you get more move speed, and that's quite nice to have. Now, if you do roll with Wrath of the Berserker in place of Battle Rage, then you might want to go for the Boon of Bolcathos to bring the cooldown. You take 30 seconds off it basically, because obviously if you hit quite a lot of elites in a row, you can get your Wrath of the Berserker cooldown knocked off 10 seconds each time. But I still wouldn't bother because it just feels a bit more consistent to have it with the Battle Rage. But obviously it's totally flexible and up to you, which is a nice thing about the build. It's nice you can make your own choices. So legendary gems, Wreath of Lightning we've covered, Boon of the Horde we've covered, and obviously Bane of the Trapped, just for the extra damage, and everything's going to be close range damage, so this will always be procced. So that's pretty much the gear. Stats wise, there's no real great requirements for this. Cooldown doesn't benefit you at all because you are re-proccing Leap by dumping your Fury. You don't need any cooldown, so I would only really look to gear for this if you do decide to go for the Wrath of the Berserker way. You don't need attack speed, you don't need resource cost reduction, you don't really need defensive stats because of your gold wrap, so basically you just need to juice the crap out of your offensive stats. So earthquake damage, fire damage, double crits, area damage and strength. And as for your Paragon, obviously move speed and strength are going to be your important ones for your core. For your offense Paragon, you want to fill out your 2 crits and then probably CDR above attack speed, albeit you do leap a little quicker when you have higher attack speed. For defense, it doesn't really matter because you've got the gold wrap, but I would probably go all resistance, armor, life per second. Utility, definitely area damage, then probably gold find, life per hit and resource cost reduction. For your gems in your gear, you want to run rubies in your chest and pants and in your helm. This is pretty much open. I probably would roll with an emerald for the extra gold, because if you're doing T13 you may as well get the extra gold. You don't really see a benefit on cooldown reduction. Resource cost reduction is completely worthless, and again life really isn't helping you out very much because you are immortal with the gold wrap. So I'd probably just go for the extra gold. So that's it. As I say, it's very unconventional, it's a ton of fun to play. Test it out, let me know if you like it or not. Do you want to see more build guides with stuff like this? Not your cookie cutter stuff, something that really is only available now for 2.6.4 in the new patch. Do you want to see more wacky builds like this? Let me know in the comments. Obviously I want to make content that people want to watch. So if you have enjoyed the video, it'd be really greatly appreciated if you drop a like, and make sure you come back and see me soon. But that's me. Thanks for watching. I've been the Filthy Casual, and I'll see you soon. Peace.